Hello guys and girls, Chaotic here, the host of today's Battle of the Titans, where two games from the same company square off to see which one reigns supreme. Today, we're diving into Path of Exile 1 versus Path of Exile 2, breaking down their key differences and determining which game does it better. Will the OG Path of Exile hold its ground with its decade of refinement and improvement to Endgame, or will Path of Exile 2, with its modernized mechanics and improved visuals and fresh combat system, fare better? Strap in, because this is going to be an intense face-off. Let's get started. Right off the bat, the first thing I want to discuss, because it deserves recognition. This is Path of Exile 1. This is the character select screen. I'm gonna play a witch on both games, so you guys can see the contrast between Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. Mm, Mainly, this is an okay character select. We get a bit of backstory. We have all the characters around, just like in Diablo 2 days, where they were huddled around the fire. And here we have the option to select from seven different classes. So yeah, this is it. I'm gonna name her, for the sake of this video, character select, because I know. Okay. This is I want to enter the game. Okay, nobody made that character, which is a good thing. Now you start the game. This is it. This is the witch. You end up on the beach. You have a driftwood wand, which I'm curious if I throw it away. Yeah, it's still visible. So the game lets you know that you need to pick up the wand. But other than that, there's no real way to know for sure. Like the game doesn't say to you, okay, you need to pick up that wand, you need to equip it. It just does it automatically. Then you see a dying exile with an exclamation mark, which from other games shows us that we have a quest. He does his text, the hungry whatever corpse attacks him, and you get a fireball, which you click. Okay, and it says insert it in there, and it automatically equips the skill. And it says a bit of text on how to play. And the movement is point and click with the mouse. You press left click for normal attacks and right clicks for the fireball. Okay, killing a bit of mobs. Skill use mana. If you run out of mana, your skills won't work. If you've taken damage, press 1. But why doesn't it say you press either 1 or 2? Anyway, I'm not gonna criticize. It's intuitive, at least. And then we need to kill a bunch of more mobs. One key difference is that the HP goes down very fast, and so does the mana, which is uninspiringly placed at 5, which always bothers me. And I always used to move the mana to 2 and leave the third one. I would put the speed potion, swiftness. I can't remember exactly what name it was. Anyway, and you kill mobs around, or for the guys who know, you just skip them. Either way, if you're a new player, you always have the incentive to kill all the mobs. We can see a bar on the bottom of the screen loading. You know it's an XP bar, and then you have arcane support, which until recently didn't show a video of what the spell does. Now I see that it shows. Okay, that's a good thing. You have the option to skip all tutorials, and I'm gonna walk past all the mobs and go directly to Brutus. Oh, Brutus. I'm thinking way ahead of myself. To Hillock, the first boss in the game. And mainly, it's just a mob. He regenerates health after pulling out the sword. It's kind of dull, and I'll get back to this subject. You can see it's just point and click. You stand in one place, cast your spells, you kill him, you level up, you pick up all the stuff, and you go into the portal, get in the skill level, and it won't let me enter the game until I put my skills in. And when you press that button, you're greeted with the most complex, the most complex skill tree in existence. Like, as a new player without a guide, you're overwhelmed. You don't know, what do I want to do? What can I do in this game? Can I press this one? Can I do that one? So it doesn't really show where do I put it. You need to click around, and then you finally find the button to press. It's spell damage and mana, or energy, shield, and mana. Okay, you go for one. You take the quest, press escape, and you get into Lion's Eye Watch. And in contrast, Path of Exile 2's character select screen, which in my honest opinion, is the best character select screen that ever was made. Like, the guy who thought up this idea and made it happen should have a statue built in front of the developer's building. You select the witch, and I do not fear death. I am its master. Darkness and the dead are my weapons of war. My enemies were rot from the inside out, and an army of corpses tear them screaming limb from limb. Like, you have, right off the bat, besides the awesome character select screen, you can hover minions. Okay, so I can have a minion army. Chaos magic. So it explains a bit about of each one. Osteomancy, like you can throw bone shit, spells, and so on. So character select. Select. I hope it lets me. Or yeah, the guy already did that. I want to enter the game. Look at this. It's a it's a masterpiece. Like, it's much more, how can I, much more oomph than the first Path of Exile 1 when you end up on the shore. How did I get there? What happened? Like, this one does it way better than the first one. And after you reach the riverbank, it shows that they were made by the same developer, because you end up on a shore of a river or sea. But I think it's a river, honestly, because it's flowing water, but whatever. And the first thing you notice is that you have a select movement type. You have mouse, and either a mouse or a keyboard. At first, I went with the mouse because of my, uh, how can I put it? My affinity to Path of Exile 1. I was used to that type of movement, and I went on for a bit until a friend of mine told me, dude, use WASD. Like, you can switch it back if you don't like it. But after that, it was amazing. So you press WASD, and she rotates of her head for the cursor, her body. So yeah, you can even do the little tornado thing. WASD to move, and you have a box appearing which says talk to the wounded man. Left click to talk to the non-player character. And you talk to him, and another cute thing is that it's you pull the knife out of the man's leg, and then stab the corpse. So it's better because the game does the first kill for you. And now you have another box appear, equip item. It says inventory. You use that, you equip it, and it's amazing. For a new player, like for a long time player, this is nothing. This is just a formality. And you kill the mobs. But what do you kill the mobs with? I'll show you in a bit. Once we get our other item. In contrast to Path of Exile 1, the first part of the act, you did it with the spell it was granted and the support gem. And if nobody told you anything, you didn't know that you need to. It did provide. Okay, you need to socket the gems into the items, but then comes Path of Exile 2. It gives you a Rattling Scepter, and with that, you grant skill level 1 Skeletal Warrior minion. You equip that, and automatically you get 2 minions, which is amazing because in the first game you couldn't get minions until you finished the first part of the game and went into the second part on the muddy beach. Also dodge those. One thing you can notice is that my mana is not. I'm not using skills, honestly, but I'll use it just a bit. I got a bit hasty there. So, right off the bat, you can see, first of all, the graphics are much better. Like, there's more lean character, more smoothness, and the skeletons look amazing with armor, and you can see that they paid attention to detail. Anyway, let's go. Another thing that I should mention is that the path to the first boss is a bit longer than in the first game. Like in the first game, you just needed to walk a bit, get the items, and then you would reach the boss. It was like this distance, but here you need to pay a little more. And now you get your first gem. Left click the gem. Like, look at this. You don't have slots in your weapons, which I forgot to mention, obviously. Now you have a dedicated screen just for skills where you socket them, and it provides you with another socket for support gems. Like this is the skill, this is the support gems, and you can put up to 5 support gems in. Okay, so you can, it appears here, you can take it and drop it, or you can select it from here. Either way, now when I press right click, Ah, it even prompts me to press it once. So the game knows I did my job. And I'm not I'm not mentally challenged. Anyway, now we're going to see and look at that beautiful, beautiful skill. And what's this? You get the skill, and after you kill with that skill, you get 2 minions, which is very nice. They die after a period. Only the skeletons are permanent for now. But still, honestly, it's much more intuitive. And the mana doesn't drop that much from using a skill, which is another thing. Like, honestly, the mobs hit hard, and you kind of need to beat them a little, but still, it's much better. Also, all the wands you get come wands and staves and other weapons come with a dedicated skill. Like right here, we have level 1 Chaos Bolt, which deals 5 to 10 chaos damage, increased projectile speed. So no increase right now, but once you get to higher levels, you can get it. One thing that I do like about Path of Exile 1 is that they auto-equip the items if you don't have an item in that slot. And this is the other biggest modification. You don't sit around. It's much more action combat. You need to dodge. You have the dodge skill. You need to beat the boss. Uh, you need to hit him. It's action everywhere. I can't find. I'm at a loss for words. He summons minions, which is obviously a good thing for us because we can kill them and summon our own minions, which attack the boss in turn. So the combat is much more interactive. The mechanics are much smoother. It's much simpler to dodge. It's much simpler to attack. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was a bar that filled up, and then the boss stuttered. That's the stun bar. After taking an amount of damage, every boss stutters. Oh, I got hit there. So yeah, watch out for those attacks. And when he stutters, he takes a bit of bonus damage, and he doesn't attack. So that's your grace period in which you can do anything to him. Okay, we get the skill point that's granted. Click here, and right off the bat, you have arrows pointing at the skills. Like you can go with spell and minion damage or energy shield. Like right off the bat, if you want to play minions, they're highly accessible, not like in the other three when you need to, where you needed to go either energy shield or spell damage and I don't spell damage. So yeah, and you have honestly the skill tree is still kind of complicated, but it's a bit simpler to understand. They removed a lot of like increased armor and so on, and they streamlined it. So like there's no more increased HP and so on. Now you have the option to either choose movement speed, armor, energy shield, and strength is the only value from the skill tree which increases your HP other than items. Like you don't have a single skill tree with increased HP. You have stun build up. Honestly, in my point of view, these two are kind of the same. But the game does a better job of explaining, okay, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do. Okay. So you take up all the items.
Well done. Please come inside.
Okay, we're coming inside. Like in the first day, haha, you got the big one. And now this is where you talk to Renly the blacksmith.
All that remains?
So, in my honest opinion, Path of Exile 2 does this better. Moving on. Okay, so we went through the beginning of the game. The middle of the game is you doing the campaign. Currently, Path of Exile 2 doesn't have the full campaign release, just like Path of Exile 1 didn't have it. So there are in total about, let me check, there are 10 acts and the epilogue. And then you get to Atlas to Endgame, where you have the option to do mapping. And if I search for the Atlas screen, this is the Atlas in the game. Key differences here. The first game, you just endlessly go and farm maps, but you can only do a map once, which is a bit of a shame. I would have really liked to, either I see a good map, I want to repeat it. I want to do it again. But it's after a certain time it becomes stale. Is it better? I'm not the one to make an assumption, but from my perspective, Path of Exile 2 does it better. But anyway, we'll talk about that when we reach there. Right now, you have the maps. You have Jungle, Melee, and so on. Every league, you start from one a map and just progress based on what map drops. This is a minion necromancer that I built. I don't have all the items. I don't have all the specters. I watch one of Gazi TV's guide, and I build a character because in this game you have to be either a genius or do at least 10,000 hours in the game to be relevant and do a build that actually works. So this build revolved around summoning skeletons, which in this game are not permanent, and I have what can I say? The build is not okay, so don't mind the minions dying so hard. But they're doing an okay job. You don't have a dodge system here. You don't have uh, any way to do something about it. So Yeah, this type, sort of thing happens, and you resurrect a checkpoint. Once This is another difference between Path of Exile 1 and 2, and I hope they'll switch it. If you die, you still have 5 chances to go back and finish the map, finish the boss, or if you died like I died once in Path of Exile 2, and the Divine Orb dropped, but I couldn't pick it up, you can go back and pick it up. So honestly, end game wise, yes, you can do a lot of improvements to your maps. You can do uh you can put scarabs in. Okay, I died again, no problem. You can when you search for a new map, you can put a scarab in. You can put fragments in. You can put a lot of stuff or do Kirak missions which enhance the gameplay, which enhances your map, which enhances your drops, similar to Path of Exile 1, because this is a feature they introduced with Settlers of Kalgur. You got Faustus, which is your Path of Exile 1 version of Alva, or Alva is my Path of Exile 2 version of Faustus, whatever way you want it, where they added an in-game trading system between players for currency. And for this is the town I built back then, but I quickly quit because I got a bit bored by it, but anyway, we're going to the town hall so I can show you what I'm talking about. So this is Faustus. This is the black market. This is similar to what you gamble with Alva, where you spend gold to get an item. It has to be either no, not normal quality, magic quality, rare quality, or unique quality. You have a chance to get uniques from him. Anyway, so I got a 42 elemental, blah blah blah. And you have the currency exchange, which is exactly like Path of Exile's 2's currency exchange. So yeah, this is how, like, there's no stock, you don't know what to do. Anyway, that was the point I wanted to make. Honestly, Path of Exile 2 has much more potential to grow than this game is a bit spent, in my opinion. Like, yeah, you have the acts, you can complete them again, but what you're really interested in is the end game. And in the end game, Grant, how can I put it? Uh, there's no doubt about it. Path of Exile 1 is out for about a decade or even over it. I'm not sure, I don't want to comment, but for the sake of this video, let's just say a decade. So it had a lot of time. There was like 2 or 3 seasons or leagues per year.
Need something
So
special?
yes, you got a lot of endgame content which is built upon the game. Like I played in beta a bit, Path of Exile 1, and it was pretty barren. Like you didn't have much to do. You had to go to like it was only part 1, Act 3, and the Solaris Temple. I'll even show you guys if it's still there, but I think it is. Like, oh, I missed the WASD. Eternal Laboratory. This was the place where you needed to come and insert the maps, the Reverie device. So this was where you inserted the maps. Now they changed it, they removed it, and start doing mapping, which was basically like where Path of Exile 2 is now. So yeah, the game has come a long way since its official release, but still, its systems, in my opinion, like an average person with a job and kids who wants to come back home and relax, this game is a bit too complicated for my taste. Like, honestly, there's too much. You have delves, you have expedition, you have settlers of Kalgur, you have I don't even remember all the names. Heist League. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You need to add content to keep the player base happy and satisfied and engaged. But they need this is the problem with all games as they get older and they're successful and they don't get abandoned. Like at one point, and Path of Exile 1 is the perfect example. At one point, there are so many systems in place that for a new player that starts right now in 2025, I want to play Path of Exile 1. He'll go to the game, he'll open the game, he'll see, okay, what do I do here? He needs to go to YouTube, check out how to play the game, how to make a build and so on. I'm not saying that in Path of Exile 2 that's not the case, but they made it easier. They streamlined it a bit. Like a new player has a much easier time understanding Path of Exile 2 than Path of Exile 1. In my honest opinion. Is my opinion correct and right? Don't mind. Don't mind the the waypoint and its positioning. This was during my rebellious days. Anyway,
Listen
so
close.
yeah, you have the
Don't follow
dealers.
my
We
head.
have expedition there in Path of Exile as well. You have a lot of stuff to do. You have the crafting bench where you can add to your items. I put my item. I want to add physical damage. Bam. How do I get more? What's that? How? What's that? What's a veiled item? So a new player has a much harder time. Like I missed a few leagues. It's way harder for me now, not keeping up to date with this game, to know how to craft a good item. It's harder. Like, what do players want? What do players need? I'm not saying, again, that in Path of Exile 2 that's not the case, but Path of Exile 2 is much easier to understand. Granted, it doesn't have a lot of content, and I wish and hope that the developers find a way that after adding a certain league with a certain content, they implement the system without overcomplicating the things, the crafting system and the game itself. But that's just my take on. And now next, you have Path of Exile 2. Okay, the hideout is a bit better. No more 2B sexy robot chicks. Anyway, you have the end game, which, of course, like I stated in my previous part, it's pretty barren. Like there's not much stuff to do. And but you go to the map device and look at the difference between uh, the Atlas. Like it's much more interactive. It almost looks like one of those browser games, those strategy browser games, and in it in itself is a mini game. Like I can choose, like I want to go this way. Okay, I'll go this way. Ah, no, I want to go this way. Okay, I'll go this way. Like I said in my previous video, okay, you can't repeat the map. Once you've done it, it's green, it's completed, you can't go. But I think this will tie into the story somehow later down the line. There must be a way for this to all end. And basically, the end game we have so far is that you need to search around the map and you find these lines which are energies emanated from citadels. You have three types of citadels. You have the citadel of iron, the citadel of copper, and the citadel of stone. Like, let me see one that I completed. Okay, this one I boxed because I wasn't paying attention. I stayed AFK and a mob killed me, but whatever. That's life. There must be. Okay, here. We completed the copper citadel. And somewhere here there has to be another. Okay, this is the another copper citadel. And this is a stone citadel. And somewhere around the lines here there must be an iron one. Where are you, my friend? copper. Here, it should have been here. The Iron Citadel. Once you get all three of them, you can go to. There's even an icon. Okay, here it is. That shows up and teleports you to the burning monolith, which you could traverse. You get three keys, three fragments. The crisis, the weather, then another one. I don't remember the name exactly. You put all three of them in this keyhole over here, and you this is an elevator. It takes you down to the final boss of the game currently, which is the Arbiter of Ash. Now, one thing that I want to state about Path of Exile 2, that Path of Exile does it a bit worse than Path of Exile 2. The endgame, except the simulacrum, is dead easy. Like if you, this is a build in which I invested about a maximum of 10 divines, and I killed the boss. If you watch my other video, in like 10 seconds. Not he even didn't even phase into the next part of his script. So yeah, the game right now for Path of Exile 2 isn't amazing. You have a bit of crafting. You have the salvage bench where you can salvage item. You have the reforging bench, which was added in again in Settlers of Kelgor. And you can, Alva is the Faustus of this game. You can exchange currency and so on and buy items from her and so on. But as far as crafting goes, you have only the orbs. So not much going on for it as of now. And a bit of they have introduced Expedition League. They introduced Breach and Simulacrum. That's basically what we have in the game currently. And if I'm not mistaken, let me check. Yeah, we have Essence League, which meh, it's not that hard to introduce. Runes are something they added this game because you can still have slots in your items. You can put slots and introduce runes, which gives you either, like I have, for example, 20% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield. And you have Delirium, that's the Simulacrum, Breach, I told. The fragments are from the bosses, and you have a Ritual League with an audience with the king. Other than that, not much going on for it. Like, this is the problem with Path of Exile 2 currently. So overall, if I wanted to make a quick synthesis of what I presented to you today, uh, regarding accessibility and learning curve, Path of Exile 1 has a steep learning curve. The game throws players into a highly complex world with little guidance. That's just my honest opinion. Mechanics like crafting, skill gem linking, and currency use can be overwhelming for newer players, and even older players have a hard time doing it. It, like I previously stated, it has an increased reliance on external guides. Like if you don't watch a guide on YouTube or somewhere, you're kind of cooked. And it has a clunky UI. The game's interface, like I stated again, it's unintuitive. Like you don't know what do I do now, what do I do there, and so on. I'm not very good at explaining this, but Path of Exile 2, it's intuitive. Like, okay, I don't need to socket, I don't need to. I need three blue sockets, two red, one green, etc. You have the skill gem introduced. You have one second. You have the stash. You use lesser jewelers orb. You use a greater, and you use perfects. So lesser you when you introduce a skill, you have two slots. Lesser gives you three, the other greater gives you four, and perfect gives you five. And you can put any type of jewel, dexterity, intelligence, or strength. It doesn't matter if you meet the requirements. So, in my opinion, it does it better. Okay, uh, in my honest opinion, Path of Exile 2 takes the cake here. Regarding graphics and visuals, Path of Exile 1, let's be honest, it has aging visuals. They did a bit of improvement here and there, but it shows its age. Uh, Other than that, it has clunky animations. Some skill effects and character animations look stiff. Like there's not a lot of fluidity. Uh, it has good art direction. Despite the older graphics, the game maintains a unique and dark fantasy aesthetic. Like it's gory. It's not something you would show your 10-year-old child, for example. Path of Exile 2, on the other hand, has a massively upgraded graphics engine. Textures, lighting, and animation they're significantly improved. There's better spell effects and physics, like you can honestly see. Okay, this is not the best example. You press hypothermia. I have winter. Like, look at this. It's much more appealing visually, in my opinion. And the movement is much better. You can dodge. It's much more fluid. Like, in my opinion, it's easier on the eye to look at this game than on the first one. So, and the environments, like they're they're much. Let's just go to a map and I'll show you. Free. Okay, Dream's Edge. Mm, Map device, and I'm entering the boarding monolith because I'm a terrible clicker. I lost so much in this game because of this click. Oh, what map should I? Oh, closer to my starting area. Where is it? This is one thing that I don't like about Path of Exile 2. Let me press space or one button and get me back to my starting area. Like, okay, I press Burning Monolith, it takes me, and usually I I can't state it for every player. Maybe the monolith is close to the Ziggurat refuge. Anyway, I did a bunch of maps here, then I fanned out, I spread in all directions. I'll choose Hive. I'll put the Waystone in, which is the new, it's not a map, it's a Waystone, and I'll open it. Similar to Path of Exile 1, okay. And come on. Like, look at the graphics here. Look, much more detail. Okay, it's a newer game. The shadows look better. I'm not playing on max settings, so yeah, my computer can do it. Look at the spells. They're much more, in my opinion, much more. Uh, it's much more eye candy than in the other. Like you can feel the weight of the spells when you cast them. Honestly, don't even get me started on the warrior when you slam into the ground and you feel like you're slamming it yourself. So, in my honest opinion, Path of Exile 2 takes this as well. And combat and gameplay, I talked about it. It's Path of Exile 2, it's much more clunky and so on. Skill system and build customization. Path of Exile 2 has a much more complex skill system and a much more complex mm, build customization. I'm not uh, I'm not gonna stress this enough. Honestly, it has over 1,000 combinations. The game allows for near endless beer variety. Like you can play literally anything and you can honestly make it work. especially if you play the the Scion, which can have access to all the ascendancies. Path of Exile 2, on the other hand, has a revamped skill system. Uh, it will have, once the game fully releases, over 200 to support gems, which will provide additional build variety, but without the frustration of color sockets and linking linking gems and so on. So honestly, this is, in my opinion, a tie. Like some people will argue that Path of Exile wins. Some people will argue that Path of Exile 2 wins. I'm seriously gonna end it in a tie. Class and Ascendancy, Path of Exile 2, hands down, has 7 base classes, 19 ascendancies. Each class has 2 free unique ascendancies, defining playstyles, and diverse options, but some of them are a bit outdated. They feel underpowered or lack modern balancing. Like, who can tell me the last guy that played an assassin build on a thief? Like, yes, you can do the cock build, but it's better to do it on it's better to do it honestly on a witch for in some cases. Path of Exile 2, on the other hand, has 12 base classes once it fully releases. Like, I can't stress this enough. This game is still in early access. It will have 36 ascendancies. So, in the end, this game will offer a small build variety. It has fresh mechanics for each classes. Like, you have the warrior slam mechanics. You have the Infernalists, we don't have Necromancer yet as of yet. I hope they will add a Necromancer specific ascendancy that specifically targets minion builds. And what other example can I give? Pathfinder is similar to Path of Exile 1, but still they didn't add the hunters yet. But the biggest change is with the crossbows on the mercenary. Like, that shit is crazy, my friends. Like, you can play as a shotgun style. You can play as a machine gun. You can throw grenades. You can detonate them. Like, I really loved the mechanics on that one, but the build, either I did something wrong, or definitely I did something wrong, because at one point I didn't do damage anymore. So yes, honestly, this one goes to Path of Exile 2. Trading and economy, honestly, Path of Exile 1 kinda takes the cake. It's still an older game, which with much more defined, it has a much more defined trading system, and the Path of Exile 2 currently has, in my opinion, a lacking system. Like, it still needs a bit more work. So this one goes for Path of Exile 1, but for now. Long term and support, honestly, both games, GGG stated that both games will get support. They won't abandon either one of them, so we can expect updates on both sides. So honestly, Path of Exile 2, like, let's not kid ourselves. Someday it will take the cake, and the devs will, in my honest opinion, in like 3 or 4 years, if the Path of Exile 2 gets fleshed out more, I think most of the player base will switch over to PoE 2, and the Path of Exile 1 will cease to be updated and it will die. So, honestly, yeah, Path of Exile 2 outshines Path of Exile 1 in almost every area except for its endgame and economy, which needs time to develop. Path of Exile 2 remains relevant for now, but Path of Exile 2 is clearly the future for the franchise. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give a like and a subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon. Chaotic out.